Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is Wicked Flicks. With this particular video, I'd like to talk about the 2002 Sam Mendes directed Road to Perdition, a film that I feel like is a modern classic that I feel is highly underrated and that I hardly ever hear anyone talking about it. And I've always felt is very much up there, among the ranks of such modern classics as The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, very much in form and function and style and substance, in depth and characterization, the cinematography, the scoring. Does this film sit well fitted in between those two, or among them at the very least? And so I had to, after watching it again recently, dedicate a Wicked Flicks video to it. Of course, starring Tom Hanks as Michael Sullivan, who is, for all intents and purposes, a gangland brick house. Tommy gun and all, 1930s, Depression era, mobland, Chicago and abroad. This story, it's quite compelling in just showing the raw sort of harshness of the mob sort of lifestyle in that time frame, while also being fictional, being that it is based on a graphic novel of the same title. But it also stars the likes of Paul Newman, Daniel Craig, Jude Law, Tyler Hoechlin, Stanley Tucci, Jennifer Jason Leigh. And it's a captivating story that sees, Michael Sullivan, Tom Hanks' character, being one of the muscle men, hitmen for John Rooney, as portrayed by Paul Newman. Rooney's the kind of character that treats this muscle man Sullivan. He raised him. He took him in when, basically Sullivan had no family, no parents, no father, whatever it is, and has raised this guy to be like the son he never had, coinciding with a very much flesh and blood son of his own in the form of Connor Rooney, as portrayed by Daniel Craig. It's very much, dad always liked you best kind of scenario, with Craig's character, Connor, being just a loose cannon in full-on meltdown. He's been trying to cover his steps, embezzling money from his own father, and a lot of innocent people who had nothing to do with it have been, having their lives taken as a result of this. And it's one of those things where the conflict between, father and son, in the legitimate father and son, is so explosive and so compelling. You have Newman's character, John Rooney, loathing the day his flesh and blood son was born, beating him into submission, but largely is Craig, in this role, uncontrollable. And in trying to silence one of these surrounding upstarts who had seen his own brother falling victim to, Craig's characters running amok, do we see Craig explosively handle this by killing this guy as well? The problem is, other than creating problems for his own father in this sort of Irish mafioso, scenario, is the fact that Hanks's character, Sullivan's eldest son, has snuck along to try to piece together what Daddy's up to. What is Daddy's job? And he has these sort of dreams and estimations of his father being akin to a Lone Ranger, like a hero for hire, a guy doing, government operative, secret ops jobs back in the 30s and everything like that. And so the cruel reality hits like thunderstruck, Michael Jr. in effect. And this sends up the red flags for Craig's character, Connor, which unfortunately sees to the deaths of Sullivan's wife and other youngest child, kind of sort of by accident. The intention that Craig had was to go in and kill the child who witnessed this whack gone wrong, for all intents and purposes, this meeting gone wrong that ended up in a whacking. And this basically sees Sullivan and his surviving son going on the run. And where it becomes really almost romanticized is in the fact that, Sullivan, being just a man of means and a man of strength, he is seeking vengeance, and he's going to try to get at Connor no matter how it needs to be aligned. But Connor has fallen under the protection of Stanley Tucci's character, and so there's a lot of through lines and hoops to be jumped and everything like that, which sees Sullivan and Son becoming bank robbers effectively and stealing mob money straight out of Capone's bank vaults and everything like that, until the well is sapped dry, and we have somebody putting Jude Law, who is this photographer of corpses and such, who's very malevolent, and he's also a gun for hire, also trailing, Sullivan and Son as they are making this move, building up to trying to just free any sort of, stoppage to get right at Connor Rooney. And one of the film's strongest attributes is seeing that it is a story of parallels of fathers and sons between, Newman's John Rooney and his son Connor, between John Rooney and Michael Sullivan, as well as Sullivan and Son. It's a situation where Michael Sullivan Sr. always looked upon Michael Jr. as being very much akin to himself in youth, basically playing dice and not being very good at, scholastics and all that kind of stuff. He is a dreamer. He has aspirations to write and create, and he loves reading. He loves the sort of Bible stories because of that grand fiction that it represents. And but there is sort of a more impetuous side to this eldest son that really has rubbed Sullivan Sr. the wrong way. And what we really see through the course of their journey is a kinship burgeoning. They become closer than they ever have been before. And all of this, while Jude Law is hunting down Hanks and Hanks's son, and Newman is trying to stabilize all the just bomb drops left, right, and center that Craig is unloading for Mobland and everything like that, and trying to keep him protected, even though he can't stand this kin of his own. It's just absolutely engrossing, because there is also charm and humor. I mean, you basically have, during the entire sequence where they're trying to steal mob money, you have Sullivan Sr. trying to teach Junior how to drive one of these old jalopy cars, and that whole sequence, it's hilarious, flying down the road to creeping along at a snail's pace. I mean, it's all kinds of charming and hilarious. And to see these characters coming together while they are on the run, while they are trying to hit a decisive blow to Mobland and say, look, I want to take Connor out, this man who killed my wife and child. It's compelling how it all finally plays out. I don't want to spoil that for you here. But one thing I also have to say, I only found out recently that Thomas Newman, who created the score for this film, is actually the one who did it for Shawshank and such like that. And it's like, so much of the music, it's beautiful. There are shades of sort of Irish folk tunes and just really sweeping, awe-inspiring music to go with these cinematic set pieces that are so believable as 1930s Chicago or the countryside out in farmland and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's just absolutely captivating. I'm not really here to give you a full review. The idea of Wicked Flicks is to just bring something to your attention if you haven't seen it before. And this film is definitely worth your watch, and then some. I mean, in spades, it is a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. And it can be heart-wrenching, it can be sad, it can be shocking, it can be joyous and full of sort of vibrancy and humor. It has shades of everything. And the music, again, I mean, I have to get my hands on the score alone one of these days. But yeah, I couldn't say enough high praise for this particular piece. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you've ever seen Road to Perdition, if you know what I'm talking about, if you agree with me in it being a cinematic masterpiece, if it has emotionally affected you and impacted you as it has me, whether it be the film itself, the cinematography, the performances, the scoring, or if not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. Anything goes in the comments below. I love having the conversation, even if our POVs happen to disagree. But I'd be far and away surprised if more people didn't just love this film once they give it a sit through, So otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.